In this video, I want to tell you 10 learnings that I'd written down in a diary about a year and a half ago. Yesterday, I was looking at what I'd written and I realized, hey, none of this is too bad to be said on camera. So maybe I should go and tell my audience all the things that I'd learned from my life. So this video is going to be 10 life tips from Varun Mayya's life. So before I get to the tips, I want to tell you that this is not all just business stuff. Some of it is, but it's mostly life stuff. It's mostly personal stuff, things I've learned in my personal life. Tip 1, make sure you brush your teeth twice a day and also make sure you floss. Now, I'm sure you heard this advice like a million times from your dentist. You probably heard it from your parents. You've probably seen it on TV. But I've actually learned it the hard way. So genetically, my family and I have very crisscross teeth, right? One tooth in the front, one tooth in the back. So the problem with that is that food particles can get stuck in between the teeth because, of course, they're in weird crisscross shapes. And the problem with that is that big, bad bacteria can come and start chewing on that food. While they're chewing on the food, they also start eating through your teeth. For the first few years of my life, I really didn't care, right? I didn't brush my teeth too often. When I went to hostel, I used to brush my teeth once a day, maybe 1.5 times a day. But that caught up to me and I started having a lot of cavities. I had to have like almost 4 root canals. So it's not the most fun place to be. Luckily, when you get your tooth root canaled, it's like a permanent crown that they put on. You can't tell the difference between a real tooth and a fake tooth. But yeah, I wish I'd been more regular brushing my teeth. And because of the shape of my teeth, I also had to floss, which I completely forgot. Over the last year, I've been brushing and flossing every single day, twice a day, flossing, just before I head to bed. And my teeth have been better than they ever have, right? So it's just a life tip. Take it how you want to. If you have crisscross teeth like me, make sure you hit the brush. The next thing is don't hold on to your opinions too dearly. See, I had a video about entrepreneurs and arrogance. See, when you're young, it is good for an entrepreneur to be arrogant. Because if you're not arrogant, you'll just be underconfident. And it is so tough that you need that extra confidence that comes from the arrogance to go tackle whatever you're tackling. But one problem with being arrogant, especially when you're young, is that you hold on to your opinions too dearly. You believe in something and it could be half-baked. You might not really understand it, but you're like, I get it and I'm going to hold on to this dearly. Don't do that. Because when you've lived as long as I have in startup land or just general in life, for the last 10 years and done as many things as I have, sometimes your opinions will end up being wrong, even if you're damn sure of them. Be a student of the world. We are not here to make ultimatum decisions, right? The world decides, nature decides, and we are plain passerbys, right? We have a little bit of control over our environment, but we do not decide the outcome of events. So don't hold on to your opinions dearly. Be easygoing. The next thing is to understand the underlying currents of other people's emotions. See, when I'm having a conversation with people these days, I not only listen to what they're telling me, the substance, I'm also trying to listen to what's the emotional undercurrent. For example, sometimes when I fight with my wife, she might be complaining about groceries, but the underlying current could be the fact that, she's frustrated at work, or she's angry with me because I left the geyser on, right? So I've noticed that what a person says and what they're really meaning can be two different things, right? And it's true even at work. So an employee could come and tell me, we really need to do this, this is a great idea, but the underlying current could be the fact that he might have told another employee that, I think this will work, and he's trying to get that agenda pushed. So I always listen with 2 ears. We've got 2 ears. The first ear is to listen for the actual substance. The other ear is to try and understand the emotional undercurrent. The minute you can put 1 and 2 together, not only can you make better decisions, you also become a much more empathetic human being, right? You let things slide because you know where it's coming from. The next thing is that I've realized over the years that people are a product of their circumstances. There's a saying, right? Past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. I've actually seen that to be true many times. If a person is a certain way in a particular year, there's a very high likelihood, unless they have crazy awareness, that they're going to be exactly the same 4 years later. They might be doing something different, but their personality doesn't change much. The way they behave doesn't change much. And we've learned this with a lot of things, including with integrity, with some of our employees. We've learned this with work ethic. We've learned this with, just everything basically. If you're with somebody who's like super toxic, don't expect that person to change, right? You can't save that person. If you're with somebody that's optimistic, don't expect that person to change 4 years later. So that's why it's more viable for you to be with somebody that's optimistic rather than constantly pessimistic, because the optimist is always going to be like that, right? And your days are going to be better. If you're with a pessimist or a toxic person, you spend so much energy just dealing with that person. Waste of time. The next thing I've learned is to choose your life partner wisely. If done right, and I think I got it right, it can change who you are and what you're capable of. Life gets tough, right? And I've been through my share of tough instances, right? Both with work, with health, with a bunch of things. And my partner has always been there with me, right? I know India now has gotten this be single revolution, and that's fine, right? If it works for you. But if you can get a great life partner, life gets easier. And dude, we're put here in a very, very tough land, right? Just dropped here from the sky into a very tough place. Why not do it with companionship? The next thing I've learned is that nobody's truly there for you apart from your family and a few friends and a few well-wishers. And it's very hard to tell who's a good well-wisher and who's somebody who will not be a well-wisher 2 years later. So it takes a lot of effort to surround yourself with good people. And I've realized as I age that I've lost so many friends. And that's because I've gained a very solid core set of friends and family, and I don't need any more. It's always a give and take relationship. I always keep my circle tight, and I keep all favors I ask from outside measured. The next thing actually comes from Taleb book's Skin in the Game. And I've seen this throughout, right? If somebody is giving you advice, maybe it's your mentor, maybe it's your teacher, maybe it's your parents, if they don't bear the brunt of that advice, if it goes wrong, then don't take that advice from them. Like I've seen a lot of people, right, who give gyan, who go on the internet and say, and including me, right, on this YouTube channel right now, I could give you some gyan. I could say, don't do this or do this. But tomorrow, me or the other people are not going to bear responsibility for what happens. So what is ideal is somebody who can take or share that responsibility with you. So when Shashank, my co-founder, tells me something, I'm much more likely to listen and I'm more likely to dive in with him because both of us bear the brunt of those decisions. If shit doesn't work, both of us are responsible, and I know he will help me pick it back up. And he knows I will help him pick it back up, right? Whereas if some random person on the street says, oh, you should do this with your startup, I'm not going to listen. Whether the startup succeeds or fails, that person is just going to be on the road giving advice. He or she is not going to pay the price for the outcome of that decision. And this is the reason I distrust wealth managers. This is the reason I distrust people who give random health advice on the internet. This is the reason I distrust people who give random financial advice and so on and so forth, right? And you could also put me and my YouTube channel in this category. So that's why I always tell people, right? And even I think Siddhartha, Gautam Buddha also said this. If I say something that you don't agree with or that I don't fully bear the consequences of, listen to it, but eventually take your own decision, right? Use me as a factor in your decision making, but don't let me make the decisions for you. And it's not just limited to me, right? I think I'm one of the few people that actually has awareness of this, right? Of the consequences of what I say. But there are a bunch of influencers on the internet who don't bear those consequences. So please listen to them, but make your own decision at the end of the day. They are not going to take the fall for your fall. The next thing is make friends with yourself. So I actually have a code name for the me inside, right? So I treat the me inside my head as a monkey, right? So I know there are two me's inside. We've had conversations before. Sometimes it's always like, I always tell myself, hey, Varun, we'll figure it out. I actually start calling him, at least in the last few years, I've started calling him V. So I just say, hey, V, we'll figure it out. And I'm talking to myself. Sometimes I'm on the road, walking, just talking to myself. I'm very sure people think I'm crazy, right? But I have such a good rapport with myself. We've been through hell together, obviously, and heaven together. I've seen some people who know there's another person, and I think all of you kind of know that there are two people inside you. The relationship is very poor. It's either toxic, contradictory, you don't trust the other person doesn't trust you. It's very weird, right? So what I say is build a rapport with each other, which actually starts with accepting everything that's going wrong and everything that's going right. I'm not going to go deep into it, but I felt sick for a while. And for a long time, I didn't trust my internal me, right? We were having conflict all the time. But today, we're in a much better place because I accept. I just accept everything that's gone wrong and everything that's gone right. All the successes, all the failures, both personally and professionally, just accept it. Build a relationship with yourself, and that starts with radical acceptance. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're fat, thin, etc., etc. Don't worry about it. Build a rapport with yourself because you need your team to go take out the world. The next thing, and again, this is personal advice, you don't have to do this, is learn to code. Bro, I've had so many opportunities in life because I've learned to code. And it's like, you can see the difference, right? People who can code are 10, 100 times in demand. You can just tell from salary range. A senior coder today is like 50 lakhs to a crore. Marketeers with like 4-5 years of experience don't make anywhere close to that amount. There's huge demand if you're a coder. You always have job security. You, in fact, are more likely to go out and raise capital because VCs know that investing money in somebody who is engineering heavy means there's good return out of it, right? Because it is a product, people can use a product. Only engineers can make products. So coding, whether you're making a physical product or a digital product, coding is still necessary today, right? Even for physical products, unless you're selling a house, which is a very different kind of engineering. So yeah, learn to code. Low cost, very, very high outcome and opportunity, and it's purely skill-based. You don't need to, like a factory or a house, you don't need to put in, few crores to make few more crores. You can put in zero and make a lot of money out of it. And there's also something really magical about being able to talk to machines. Look, I'm communicating with you right now. I'm speaking English. I could speak Hindi, I could speak Kannada, and I could communicate with you. Why do you think it's different with machines? I want this beautiful computing device with all the power inside it. I want that for me. I want to be a wizard. I want to control it, right? I want to be able to give it instructions, and I want it to be able to understand. Right now, you know how to give instructions. If you can speak any language, like Hindi, English, Kannada, whatever, you already know how to give instructions, right? You can go outside and tell another person, go straight and take a left. You can do that, right? Now, all you have to do is learn another language, learn a syntax to give those same instructions to a different device. You're overhyping it in your head, and you're seeing this battle going on media with White Hat Junior and whatnot, and that is misleading you to a certain extent, right? Ignore the noise. Coding is about building a better future for yourself. Think about it. You don't have to do it, but think about it. The last thing is build a network and keep it warm. I've said this a million times now. When you're young, it's about what you know. When you're old, it's about who you know, right? So build a strong network, people you can call. And of course, remember that not everyone's going to return your call. Not everyone's going to help you out in times of crisis. But it doesn't hurt to build a network, because if you have 3 people who can help you in a crisis, maybe one of them will respond in a particular field, in a particular context. Today, I have so many people on speed dial on my phone who I can just call for any advice, right? All the way from marketing to sales to life to what should I do next? Should I raise capital? To even which game should I download next? So it's a beautiful thing to have a great network, right? Don't underestimate the value of people. You can still be an introvert. You can still be in your own bubble. I'm an introvert, by the way. On social media, it doesn't look like it, but in real life, I'm a very, very, very deep introvert. But I still make it a point to try and maintain those relationships. I keep my distance, but I try to help them when they need help, and I try to ask for help when I need help. Don't be a solo YOLO type of person who doesn't ask anybody for help and doesn't have a network, because you will be caught like a sitting duck, especially when things get hard. That's it for me. Bye.